You gotta throw a little skip in there because I'm just used to playing with kids, and why not? So, hey everybody, it's my first time here to SaaS Talk, and second time to Dublin. The first time was 15 years ago visiting the Salesforce.com offices when Salesforce.com was probably, I don't know, 1,000 people. Since then, it's probably added an extra billion, a lot of money, but it created predictable revenue. That ended up being a book published in 2011, the sequel called From Impossible to Inevitable. See, it's a lot of syllables. From Impossible to Inevitable came out in 2016, and we just had a new update a few months ago. So I'm going to share some highlights from these books today. Now, when companies struggle with sales growth, typically the most common reasons are you're trying to skip a step, you don't have enough sales roles, you are dependent on word of mouth, and unpredictable lead generation. So we'll go through and give you some solutions to what these problems are. Now, I got this from David Skock, who's a well-known venture capitalist in Boston at Matrix VC, and he says there's these 3 really big steps in growing a company. The first one is getting product market fit. The second step is creating a predictable, repeatable sales model. I'm like, yeah. And the third is scaling. And the problem is when companies, like, you're so excited, we have customers buying, we have product market fit, let's go! And you spend a lot of money, hire people, and it doesn't work. And the problem that people run into is you haven't spent the time to really create a lead generation and sales model that's repeatable and predictable. And often it's because it takes a lot longer than you think or want. So we'll go through what some of those main steps are to put that in place. And I'll use an example from a company called Sagemount. They are actually a $3 billion private equity firm in New York. When Sagemount does, they'll invest in a company, and they want to triple the valuation of that company in 3 years. What they've seen is the best way to increase the value of a company is to increase its organic sales growth. So that's step number 1 when they come into a company. So let's say, for example, they put $40 million into a company in the middle of the States. There's about 150 people, IT services. They had half a dozen salespeople doing everything. They were getting leads, some referrals, and some inbound here and there, a little bit of everything. And Sagemount wanted to grow it faster. And what they focus on are really 3 key metrics. And they sound so simple, but these get lost in the shuffle more often than not. The first is getting more leads, more meetings. Then having those meetings go well, with usually the result of, for example, more proposals sent. And then third is more customers. It sounds so simple, and yet we lose sight of this. So there's 3 ways. Now, this is an excerpt from the Impossible book, and so they actually have more than just 3. These are 3 highlights of what they do. But the main 3 is specialized sales roles, nail a niche, and the third is create predictable ramping lead generation, which to them is primarily ramping outbound prospecting. So what I like to say is, come on, clicker. If there's nothing else that you take away from today, the easiest to understand and implement step towards creating a better, more scalable sales team is specializing your sales roles. So what does that mean? It means like any sports team. I don't know any sports team where the coach would say, all right, everybody go out and attack, and everybody go out and defend, right? No, you've got attackers, you've got defenders, midfield, and goalie. In sales, we tend to tell salespeople, okay, salespeople, do everything. Prospect, close, manage customers, respond to leads, do everything. Okay, and it just doesn't work. They're juggling too much. The better model, right, and this is what is now standard in the fastest growing companies in the world, is you have prospectors who prospect, closers who close. If you have inbound leads, a team to respond to them. And for customers, different customer-facing teams like account management or customer success. The way you implement the principle could be different in your company, but the principle is focus. More jobs so that people can do fewer things better.